Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me in another episode. Today, I'm going to continue talking about yoga cues. And thank you for the messages that I have received and for your inquiries, for your own doubts, because as yoga practitioners, when we go to classes, we hear so many things and we sometimes don't know what to do. And as I said in the previous episodes, as yoga teachers, we tend to repeat what we have heard without actually thinking. Today, the cue that I would like to discuss is open your heart or melt your heart. So I'm going to be discussing the anatomical part of it because probably by now you know that anatomy is my language. But some anatomical cues are presented in a metaphor, right? Like in a metaphorical way, like this one, melting your heart to the floor or shining your heart to the sky. All those are metaphorical cues. And those cues may work for some people and make you realize that basically what the teacher is aiming you to do is to open your chest, to expand, to stretch the front of your body, which is great. Especially, you will hear those cues in back bends. Now, what we tend to have doubts about is where that movement is coming from. And I have seen this when I cue my students, when I'm teaching the in-person courses, when people are becoming yoga teachers and I ask them to open their chest. Sometimes they actually move the neck, move the head back because it gives an idea of going deeper into the back bend. Or they only tend to move from the lumbar spine, for example, which is the part of the body that is the part of the spine that is meant to flex forward and back. But also the movement needs to come from the hip joint. So we need to understand the mechanic. At the end of the story is, and I always repeat this in my anatomy classes, that as yoga practitioners and as yoga teachers, the main purpose of understanding anatomy, of learning anatomy, of knowing anatomy, is to understand the mechanic of the posture. And the mechanic of the posture is where is the movement coming from, which will be a joint. What is a joint doing? And what are the muscles producing those movements at that joint? So having that awareness, that where is my body moving from? Where is the movement coming from? Then things will make more sense. Now, I chose this cue because there are so many cues that I was revising and to choose from this series that I put together for this month and for next month as well. And this one is because one, not only we get confused about what to move and where to move from, what are the possible limitations when we are doing a back bend, when we are trying to open the chest and melt the heart to the floor or shine the heart to the sky. But also because this cue highlights this language that a lot of yoga teachers have adopted in modern times that is a language related to opening, expanding, lengthening, stretching, giving space, flexibility, mobility, which, yes, those things are part of asana practice. And remember, these months we're talking about the physical part of the yoga system. So yes, all that happens in an asana practice. But we have moved of all yoga teachers, because honestly, I do the opposite. A lot of yoga teachers have moved away from the other part, from referring to compressing, contracting, shortening, strengthening. And one thing cannot happen without the other one. I have heard a lot of people, a lot of teachers, yoga teachers, being overly cautious about compressing the lumbar spine. Like, be careful of not compressing your lumbar spine, of not compressing your knee, not compressing the shoulders. And as I was mentioning in the last episode, compression is something that has to happen, that it happens all the time, because compression, either because a muscle meets another muscle, or a muscles come to a bone, or bone meets another bone in the joint. These are the three different types of compression: soft, mild, and hard compression. Is going to happen. It happens in all of us, in all the movements. Either you're practicing asanas or you're moving in your daily life, because we have to stop moving at some point, right? So the joint is going to start doing the movement and it will stop at some point because of different restrictions. The first one is the nervous system, because it's going to stop us before our physical capacities, because the main role of the nervous system is to protect us. Then from the tensile resistance, from all these tissues, the fascia and the muscles mainly, that are not elastic enough yet to allow us to be in certain poses. And ultimately, the bones, the shape of the bones, the position of the bones, the orientation of the bones in the joint will define the range of motion that we have. But here is not only about range of motion. Here is about, we are discussing these cues because more than the range of the motion, I will love to bring the awareness of the integrity of the movement. And to do that, we move from the place that we are meant to move in the way that that joint is meant to move. So coming back to opening the heart, it's, as I said, it helps a lot of people to understand what is it that we want to do, but I would love to see more guidance on where to place the intention so we can actually expand and lengthen the front of our chest. Because the heart, now if we go to be very non-romantic talk, the heart cannot be open. Like, physically speaking, the heart is a muscle that we don't want the muscle to open. We want the muscle to be as it is, but we're aiming to do, and I do understand the image behind that cue is to expand your chest, is to basically retract your scapula, to protract your clavicle, to compress your lumbar spine in an extension so the front of your spine opens up, which is very needed for these days that we spend a lot of time seated. And we are compressing all the time the front of our body. So we need to extend the spine to do this. So understanding that when we are melting the heart, when we are opening the heart, we are actually compressing the lumbar spine. So we move away from the fear of compressing the lumbar spine because it's something that we want to do. We want to strengthen the muscles of your back, of your lower back. As I have mentioned before, we are spending a lot of time seated, and those muscles are probably weak. So we want to strengthen those muscles. So next time when you hear this cue of melting your heart, basically we want to start moving from the lumbar spine, extending the lumbar spine, extending the lower back without being afraid of bringing the bones towards the bones, because it's something that we anyway do naturally in different movements. But also pay attention to what is happening in the hips. Yes, I know we're talking about the chest, but that's what I want you to bring the awareness to, that we move from the hip joint, from the lumbar spine, in order to open the chest, open your heart, because then you want to transmit that energy of the extension of the lumbar spine all the way to your thoracic spine and a little bit on your cervical spine. So bringing your head back is not actually opening your chest. It's just continuing that movement from the lumbar spine and traveling immediately to the neck. One of the my ideas with this program is to educate, because we don't have time, or in the yoga field, the teachers don't take the time, or we have created this cult around the asana practice that we don't take time to explain, to explore, to educate, so we as practitioners can be responsible of our own practice, can notice, can actually know that I'm doing a back bend. And when the teacher is asking me to open my heart, basically means to open the front of my body. But in order to open something, something else has to close, has to shorten. And that is my back. So the joints that are actively working to expand, to stretch, to open your chest and your abdominal area in a back bend is your back, your glutes, your hamstrings, the muscles, the erector spinae, the muscles that we have in the spine. All those muscles are contracting, are making themselves shorter, are getting stronger, and are pulling bones towards bones. The femur is coming towards the pelvis posteriorly. Vertebrae are coming towards each other in the lumbar spine. So all that is shortening. My attention as practitioner is in those muscles, because those are the active muscles that are working in order to move all that towards each other, those bones towards each other, so we can have space in the front of the body to open the hip flexors, to lengthen the front of the hip, to lengthen the front of your abdominal area, and to eventually lengthen the front of your chest. So let's call the things as they are. Yes, in a back bend, you compress your lumbar spine. Yes, in a back bend, you engage your glutes, you contract your glutes. Those things are happening. So we don't stay only in the romantic idea that yoga is only to stretch, because that creates that idea also in the mind that yoga is only for flexible people, for elastic people who have a lot of mobility in their joints. No, the asana practice is there to give us what we need. And some people don't need flexibility, but those are the just a few. Majority of us, we do. But also we need strength. We need coordination. We need this harmony between the breath and the body. And that will help us to calm the mind. So sometimes hopefully, we will use the asana practice to connect all the layers, our body, our mind, our soul. So my advice for you today as yoga teacher or as yoga practitioners is that it is okay to keep using that language of opening and lengthening and stretching, but also let's start talking about the opposite, because that is very needed. And we need this. We need to have strong, functional bodies. So don't be afraid when someone says, oh, back bends compress your lumbar spine. Be careful. No, actually, that's what we want. That's the aim of back bends, compressing your lumbar spine to strengthen those muscles and lengthening the front. So I hope this clarified this idea or the mechanic, the anatomical reasons behind this cue of opening your heart, melting your heart to the floor, or shining your heart to the sky. And I hope that now, next time you hear that or you say that, it makes more sense for you. Anyway, so thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this in YouTube, remember that you can follow us on any platform for podcasts and also in the YouTube channel. We have our website, sampoornayoga.online, when you will find more information about our courses. And I will be here next week with another cue with Inga as my guest, and we will continue exploring these cues. If you have any cue that you have heard in a yoga class and you're not very clear about it, please leave me your comment and I will be happy to help you clarify your doubts. Have a great week and hear you here next Saturday. Bye. Hi, and thank you so much for watching this video. After so many years of teaching in yoga teacher training courses, I realized that a lot of people don't understand exactly what yoga is, or they have a lot of misconceptions and doubts. And that's why I created the podcast Decoding Yoga. Every week, I share a new episode with you where I talk about cues, about postures, about yoga as a lifestyle, about these myths, these doubts, these ideas that we have been repeating in yoga classes, and we don't even know what they mean. We don't understand what those cues mean, and we keep repeating them. So we have repeated so many times that we believe they're true. So I hope you can join me in the next episode. You can watch the video here, or you can look for the show in any of the audio platforms available. And if you have a question, a doubt, you have heard a myth about yoga and you want some clarification, let me know below this video and I will be happy to create a program to reply to you. Thank you.